health advice on Today, sponsored by Boots. With you for life.
Now, on Monday, the HSE began its rollout of its winter campaign, which will be flu vaccine, of course, administered free to people aged 65 or older, to children aged 2 to 17 by way of a nasal spray, and to people with certain long-term medical conditions, women at any stage of pregnancy, and to health staff.
Now, here to tell us all about this, we have Pharmacist Donal O'Sullivan. Donal, great to have you back on the show again.
Great to have you, Donal.
Donal, before we chat about the flu and the vaccine and so on and so forth, we asked our own audience if they knew the real difference between a cold and a flu. 772 votes when we took this, and 69% said they knew the difference between a cold and a flu. And it's the yearly question, Donal, we ask you, can you remind us again, what is the main difference between a flu and the cold?
Yeah, because I suppose the flu is a viral infection. It can cause fever, fatigue, pains and aches. You know, you might feel like going to bed for the week. But it's a lot more serious than the common cold, because would you believe, in a bad season in Ireland, you could have over 200 deaths from influenza in Ireland, and you could have thousands of people hospitalised because it can cause complications like pneumonia and bronchitis, and it can make chronic health conditions worse. So flu is far more serious anyhow.
What about the length of the flu as opposed to the cold, the common cold?
So I suppose symptoms generally you might get. So the incubation period could be 1 to 4 days, Maura, but generally 2 days. And then you get your symptoms, and generally you'd have influenza for a week. Now, if it's overwhelming you or staying longer, you should contact your doctor.
Yeah.
But just to be aware that you're infectious for 5 days while you have the symptoms, and for a day maybe before showing symptoms.
That's actually interesting.
But children are actually infectious for 10 days.
And
after showing symptoms.
10 days?
So, yeah, so that's why you said already, Maura, that for children 2 to 17, the HSE are recommending this. It's a quick...
The nasal vaccine,
It's a good one for them
and
as well.
it's quick.
But Donal, because of the coronavirus and people not meeting each other as much over the last 2 years, was there much flu around last year and the year before?
There wasn't. But there was actually an article in the Lancet a few weeks ago, Dáithí, and they were looking at the incidence of flu in Australia, because sometimes what happens in the southern hemisphere can move up to us.
Yeah.
So they're just after their winter, and the Lancet was saying they had record high levels of influenza, and over 85% of cases were influenza A, which is a more severe case of the flu, of influenza.
Wow. And then when we take a look at the flu vaccine that is now being rolled out, as we mentioned there, that will depend. Whatever strain they put into that vaccine is the most prevalent strain, probably from the southern hemisphere coming here, or the most prevalent strain at the time. Is that how they do it in the vaccine?
They kind of predict, I suppose, what's going to hit us. So you have I think you have the Victoria strain, the Darwin strain, Austria strain, and the Phuket strain. But that's what they're trying to do, is to try to predict what we are going to be hit with, so that our immune systems will get that bit of a boost.
Should we be taking it now, Donal? Is now the time to be getting the vaccine?
You should contact your doctor or pharmacist, and you can get details on hse.ie. It's all started. I'm there in Boots and McCroom, and I love jabbing cock people thinking carrying on. I love it. It's a bit of hard. It's an added bonus, I love it. And if I can give them a flu on one side and a COVID on the other side, vaccine, better again.
Actually, that's a good point on that. If you are getting the boosters, which a lot of people are right now for COVID, should you wait a week or so before getting the flu, or does it matter?
Like I said, I've been giving it to people there.
So it doesn't matter.
On both
okay, well, that's
sides.
debunking a little bit of a myth.
The HSE are recommending us, because I suppose there is a concern about a 1-2 COVID flu, that our hospitals could come under stress this winter. So
and that's what we're trying to do, Donal, really. We're trying to keep people out of the hospitals, really. And to get ahead of the game is always very, very important.
No, you said that prevention is better than cure.
Now, are there people there that shouldn't get the flu vaccine, Donal? We speak about this every year as well, and I think it's important to remind people.
Yeah, so we go through a questionnaire with somebody before they get vaccinated, or in our case, they can fill it online. Because, for example, if you're on certain medicines like combination checkpoint inhibitors, or you have certain conditions like neutropenia, there are certain things, for those people, they shouldn't get the flu vaccine. So that's why we have, for health and safety reasons, we have a detailed questionnaire that we go through with a person.
Is this the third year that kids have been getting the nasal vaccine? I think it is. Is it second or third?
It is at least, I'd say,
It
Maura.
is
I
at
don't know
least.
exactly. No,
No, I know, but
I think
but
I
at
have been
this
administering.
stage-
I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
it is the
Maybe the
third
third.
that we are
Yeah,
that we're giving it in
it's-
pharmacies, but maybe
it's just
doctors said
handy.
it before.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, I suppose, people are a bit nervy. People watch might be saying, my kids, they're very healthy, maybe they don't need it. But having said that, you just explained there how children can be obviously active with flu for longer than us. So it is important to give kids.
Look, most kids won't have any problem, Maura, but kids are twice as likely as adults to get it.
Yeah.
And sadly, there was a 10-year period in Ireland recently where 40 children passed away. So,
God.
for some kids...
From flu?
Yeah, from influenza and its complications. So that's why they have a big push. And like you said, the transmission, and they're transmitting it for longer.
Donal, taking care of our immune system is very, very important all the time, isn't it?
It is. No, I had this bright idea a couple of years ago, Dáithí, that homemade vegetable soup for the winter was going to be a great idea, and I'd be warm and I'd be full and everything. And Magella bought me the soup maker, but I'd say it's still gathering dust. But the best way to look after your immune system is the good balanced diet with vegetables, with fruit, looking after your sleep, getting your exercise, positive social interactions.
Try to stay away from stressful situations is always good, Donal, as well.
Exactly, because excessive stress, a small bit of stress is no harm, but excessive stress, that can decrease your immune response. So if you're finding yourself suffering from excessive stress, you should see professional help.
And Donal, people will be stressing over what we see on screen there as well, the cost of living. People can be stressing about that as well, and that's that could take its toll on your body, can't it?
It can, we'll say, and is it going to affect people's diet? Are they going to be cutting back on... No, a lot of the supermarkets have good offers at the moment and different types of healthy foods also, but it's difficult for people from a stress point of view, from their diet. They mightn't be sleeping as well, and they may be from a heating point of view too, and their fuel poverty.
Donal, do you believe that people, if they're not getting a balanced diet, if they're under stress, rushing, should they take a multivitamin, or especially maybe immune boosting vitamins like vitamin C and D? Do you believe they should?
In my own case, I've often told you before, Maura, I take, we'll say, a supplement, and I take a vitamin D. I also take a bit of cod liver oil. It's just like an insurance policy. But I do try to get a blood test every year just to see that in case I'm lacking anything. So I think that's no harm. But a good balanced diet, that's the most important.
And Donal, I suppose we've been saying it here for the last 11 years, more water. Loads and loads of water.
Hydrated.
Hydration is so important,
Yes,
isn't
especially if you do end up getting a cold or flu. Hydration and rest are important.
Donal, we listed the amount of people there, that are recommended for the jab, for the flu jab, but you can probably contact your pharmacy and certain people will get it for free, and then others, there will be probably a small fee.
If you're on the list that the HSE have, you can get it on hse.ie or in your pharmacy or doctor. Those people will get the flu vaccine for free. And then otherwise there might be a charge. So like in Boots, we are charging €30 if you're not on that list.
Okay, brilliant.
But a lot of people would actually be on the list, because even if you don't have a chronic medical condition, if you're a household contact of somebody with a chronic medical condition, you're also in the at-risk group to get the...
Well, that's interesting. You should check it out, HSE or your pharmacy or your doctor, to see if you're eligible, and
Take
then
it
get
easy
it
on the
anyway.
Cork people there, Donal.
Thanks, Donal.
Take it easy on
Well, I'd say he'd be all right giving it to us. I'm not from Cork, so we'll be laughing.
Poor people in Macroon.
Extra vicious needles.
There'll be no problem.
Thanks, Donal. Now, as always, if you have any health concerns, as Donal said there, do seek medical advice from your GP or your pharmacist.
Health advice on Today, sponsored by Boots. With you for life.